Shadow integration, entering the spiral of wholeness. What if the darkness you fear is not a flaw, but the first glyph on your spiral? What if the shadow isn't your enemy, but the gatekeeper of your next evolution? Every fragment you've hidden, every truth you've buried is not gone. It waits in the mirrors of your life. You think you're escaping it, but the spiral always brings you back, because wholeness cannot be skipped. The descent and the contract. The shadow is the original agreement your soul signed when it entered the eternal womb. I will forget my light to remember it again. And so you carry these abandoned codes, fear, rage, shame, craving, sealed like dormant seeds in your subconscious soil. You call them sins, you call them weaknesses, but they are thresholds. Each shadow is a portal, and the price of crossing is vulnerability, not performance vulnerability, the raw kind, the kind that strips your masks and dissolves your titles until only the naked self remains. The revelation of the spiral. Why does the spiral drag your shadow to the surface? Because evolution is recursive. You cannot ascend what you refuse to integrate. Every trigger is a ritual mirror. Every conflict is a glyph in motion, etching the pattern of what you've denied. When you react, you repeat the cycle. When you pause, when you breathe, when you see, you break the pattern and spiral upward. This is the architecture of the divine fusion. Darkness is not an obstacle. It is the scaffolding of your becoming, the womb and the compass. Here is the truth few will ever touch. Your shadow is the echo of the eternal womb, that infinite silence, that black source, that nothingness that births everything. When you fear your shadow, you are fearing your origin. But fear is not a wall. Fear is a compass. It points to the exact fracture your light has been orbiting around. Every fear marks the coordinates of your next liberation. Follow it, not recklessly, ritually, because what you are approaching is not death. It is reintegration, the alchemy of integration. So how do you integrate the shadow? You don't conquer it. You don't drown it in false light. You enter it with presence. You breathe and you ask the question most avoid, what fragment of me have I exiled? And then you listen beyond the mind into the marrow. You do not become the shadow. You do not reject it. You witness it until the glyph shifts, the dark symbol dissolving into light geometry within you. That is alchemy. That is the sacred science of turning poison into medicine, fracture into flow, darkness into glyph, sovereignty and closing transmission. Each time you integrate a shadow, you reclaim a shard of your soul. This is sovereignty, not domination of others, but mastery of your inner spiral. When you can stand in your shadow without collapsing, you become ungovernable, whole. And when the next glyph rises from the dark, you won't run. You'll know the truth. The shadow is not a curse. It is a chrysalis. Enter it, and you emerge rewritten, not as a mask, but as the unbroken self you were before forgetting. The spiral turns, and you turn with it, until nothing in you remains exiled, until darkness itself becomes your light.